If you've been shopping for school supplies lately, you've probably felt it. Everything costs more. Lunch boxes, notebooks, eggs, even animal crackers. A new analysis shows that getting a child through the school year will cost families thousands more than it did just a few years ago. Today, we're talking about why prices are climbing and what families can do about it. My next guest is Gbenga Ajílóre, Chief Economist at the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities. Good to have you, Gbenga. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, and this is such a timely topic. Students are rolling back to school, and the cost of everyday school items has gone up noticeably. So, what's behind these price hikes?
So the biggest thing that's behind these price hikes, I think, would be the administration's policies. Last year, we saw that with tariffs on a lot of goods, on a lot of countries, has added up. And then you throw in the conflict in the Middle East with the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, causing gas prices to go up, diesel to go up. But at the same time, a lot of the things that went through there are kind of inputs to a lot of goods that we see at the grocery store.
And families are feeling the squeeze, everywhere. Groceries, gas, and now school supplies. So what's happening in the economy that's keeping prices so high continuously?
So I think a lot of it's just the uncertainty that we face as the American public with businesses, consumers, as you mentioned, the grocery store, with gas. We've gas gone up over $1 since earlier this year. Diesel, which is impacting transportation costs. And so we're seeing that filter through these school supplies like lunch boxes and notebooks and index cards, and then also the food like lunch meat and juices and fruits.
Yeah, and it's super relevant, prevalent right now, beginning of the school year as students are trickling back into the classrooms. But should families expect these costs to stay high throughout the school year, or is there relief on the horizon?
So I don't think we see any relief over the horizon, at least through the fall. We still seeing the impact of what's happening in the Middle East. We don't have a ceasefire yet. This administration, even though the Supreme Court earlier this year had called some of the tariffs unconstitutional, the administration has put on different tariffs. So all the things that's causing our prices to go up are going to stay up, and we're going to see that throughout the rest of the year.
And we're seeing some of those prices just in comparison to how much school supplies have gone up that you've been mentioning. And beyond the numbers, what are families actually saying about the stress of affording back to school basics?
So they're finding that's just really tough. I think the biggest problem is that we've seen higher prices all year long, and people have tried to adjust. Businesses have tried to adjust. Businesses have been holding off on price increases early on, but now they're starting to see higher prices, and so people have to become clever, innovative, figure out ways to kind of make ends meet, tighten their belts a bit.
And Becca, you approach this issue from a policy perspective. What can be done to help bring these costs down? And what can families do right now to protect their budgets?
So starting with the families, one of the things you could think about is, what are ways where they can cut? Now that the summer's pretty much over, you don't have to worry about vacations or travel or things like that. Gas prices are still high, so what are some ways to save there? Buying in bulk, buying store-bought brands, things like that. And then from a policy standpoint, get rid of the tariffs, things like that. But the other thing is, we had the one big beautiful bill last year. Cuts to SNAP, cuts to Medicaid aren't helping. So making sure that you will support these programs, economic security programs, so that people can afford to put food on the table and you don't have to make decisions about health care.
Yeah, in addition to that, we were talking about school supplies. We lightly mentioned as well school lunches. Kids got to eat when they go into their classrooms, but families are also seeing that inside of the grocery stores, just from produce, from some of the sandwiches that they're getting for their students, for their kids. Is there anything else they could be doing that can help them when they're packing those school lunches? Should they be shopping in bulk as well for that?
Yeah, definitely shop in bulk. Sometimes it's kind of hard with produce that you can't really buy in bulk. But then you're just thinking about different options and different things of purchasing, maybe something more processed food or maybe canned goods, things like that. Just try to become more clever about how to, make ends meet.
Yeah. Well, Benga, thank you so much for joining us today, giving us more insight as families and parents are shopping for back to school. To our viewers, you can learn more by heading to tcf.org.